Hi, I'm Kitty. Welcome to my video. This is part one of the topic about quite. I bet you have seen this word before. If I say, he's quite right, what does it mean? How about, he's not quite right? Check them out from the discussion between Douglas and me. If you're not familiar with gradable and non-gradable adjectives, I strongly suggest you watch my video about them first before moving on with this one. You can find the link of that video below the comment here. Douglas, today I want to discuss the word quite.
What do you want to talk about? I think many people know this word.
Yeah, but I'm afraid not many people really know this word. I think most people know it means fairly or to some degree, but they don't know this word can also mean completely, very, unusual, or a large amount.
Really?
Uh-huh.
But I suppose teachers at school do teach this word, or you can check its meaning in dictionaries yourself.
Mm, I suspect they don't know all the meanings. Even if you look at dictionaries, although there are explanations and examples, it can be difficult to really understand them. For instance, when quite is described as fairly, they use this example: I'm quite tired. On the other hand, when quite is described as very, they illustrate this meaning by using this example. Her performance was quite good. These two sentences are very similar, but it is hard to tell their differences.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Yeah, it's not something you can learn from books. Very often, the real meaning is expressed through our intonation and stress rather than the words per se.
Mhm. When we learn British English, we have to understand the British culture too. I think we discussed this last time. The Brits like to use understatement in their speaking to avoid offense. Quite is one of the words you guys use the most in day-to-day life, and use it to understate your feelings, opinions, and a situation.
Yeah, we like to be tactful and polite.
Shall we play a game with the word quite?
Sure, why not?
We can take turn to demonstrate a particular shade of meaning of quite by giving one or two examples until we are short of ideas. What do you think?
It sounds very fun. May I suggest that the other player can also chip in with their comments after the demonstrator presents their examples?
Yeah, good idea, Douglas.
Thanks. Do you want to start first?
Okay, I'd like to start with the two examples I gave earlier. You may want to listen carefully to my stress and intonation. I'm quite tired, which means fairly tired. Her performance was quite good, which means very good.
When you said I'm quite tired, you only stressed tired but didn't stress the word quite. On the other hand, when you said her performance was quite good, you stressed both the words quite and good.
Yeah, we don't stress quite when it means fairly, but in other occasions, we usually stress it, especially when we use it to understate something. Perhaps we could just move on and find out more.
Right. Since you've mentioned gradable adjectives, I have some examples for non-gradable adjectives. Here they are. I'm quite exhausted. It's quite terrible. What do you make of them?
Well, when we use quite with non-gradable adjectives, quite means completely is kind of an understatement, and we have to stress both the word quite and the adjective and say, I'm quite exhausted, or is quite terrible.
Excellent. Yes. When we feel tired, we can say, I'm quite exhausted, rather than saying, I'm completely exhausted. We prefer to be more subtle and polite. Very often, we just drop a hint by using understatement. So you really have to listen to the context and intonation.
I agree. By the way, there are two types of non-gradable adjectives. Exhausted and terrible are just one of them. These adjectives carry the meanings of extreme or to the greatest degree. For example, exhausted means extremely tired, whereas terrible means very bad. There is another type which is not about the extremity of a quality. In fact, they're more about opinions, which can be either yes or no, or true or false. They can't be in between. Correct and right are the examples. We can say what he said was quite correct, or you are quite right. In these sentences, quite means completely or absolutely.
Mm. Well, we've just discussed how to use quite with gradable and non-gradable adjectives, but I think there are some exceptions in gradable adjectives. I mean, some gradable adjectives are treated as non-gradable adjectives when they are emphasized with quite. Off the top of my head, there are at least three. They're clear, different, and sure. I can give you some examples. You're quite clear. It's quite different from what we've found. Are you quite sure she won't mind? In these sentences, quite means absolutely or very.
Well done, Douglas. You are quite clear.
Haha, thanks.
To my way of thinking, quite can be used with certain adverbs and verbs and has the meaning completely too. For example, you can use it with clearly, enough, frankly, or honestly in these sentences. I remember quite clearly that he left early yesterday. I've had quite enough of your tantrums. Quite frankly, I don't blame you. Or use it with some verbs like agree, understand, enjoy, etc. You can say, I quite agree. I quite understand your situation. Or I quite enjoy walking in the park.
Right. We can use it with some fixed phrases like quite the contrary or quite the opposite, which means the complete opposite. Or we can use it in negative sentences and produce the meaning not completely. For instance, I don't quite follow you. Or I've never quite understood why she's so successful.
Good. Using quite in negative sentences is another way of using understatement. It's much more polite to express our negative opinions. Of course, we can say, I can't follow you. But in some situations, you might run a risk of giving the interlocutor the impression that you are accusing them of something.
Quite.
Thanks. You've just given another example. When we give a reply simply with quite or quite so, It means we agree with what they have just said. For example, there are two people. The first guy says, "We must finish it today." The second one replies, "Quite." It means the second guy agrees they need to finish it today.
Quite so. I think we can also use quite with a noun or a noun phrase to understate the quantity or a quality. For example, you can say, "This is quite a different problem," or "She hasn't been seen for quite some time," or "He's quite the little gentleman, isn't he?" Quite in these sentences means unusual or a large amount.
Yeah, I remember we discussed last time about the word bit, which is used in understatement. We can say quite a bit of something or quite a lot of something to mean a large amount or number of something. For instance, they drank quite a lot of wine.
Yeah, I remember that. We can also use quite a bit or quite a lot with comparatives to mean much. Let me give you some examples. We went to France when I was quite a bit younger.
Hmm.
The new TV set is quite a lot heavier than the old one.
Douglas, I really like the one you said, "when I was quite a bit younger." It's an awful lot better than saying "when I was much younger," which implies I'm very old now. I like it.
Aha, thanks.
It just popped into my mind. We can say quite a few to mean a fairly large number. For example, if I say I've been there quite a few times, it could be negative or positive. Let me give you two scenarios. In the first scenario, a husband asks his wife, "Shall we go to London for vacation this time?" The wife then replies, "Come on, we've been there quite a few times." It means the wife feels it's boring to do the same thing and doesn't want to go to London this time. It's a mild way to show our annoyance. And here is the second scenario. Peter asks his colleague, Mary, "Do you think it's safe to stay in that hotel?" Then Mary says, "Don't worry, I've been there quite a few times." It means Mary is positive about staying in that hotel because she has been there more than a few times.
Your examples are quite good. If we want to fully understand the context, we have to read between the lines and their intonation. I think you're today's winner.
Not quite. I think we both are the winners. We've learned quite a lot from each other today. Well done.
Yeah, quite right.
Can you figure out my earlier questions? He's quite right means he's completely right. He's not quite right means he's not completely right, but is partially right. I have pasted the link here. You could download the transcript and the language we used in this video. If you like my video, please share it with your friends and schoolmates. See you next time. Bye!